just commit suicide. She publicly said the same, by the way. She publicly said to Courtney Stodden via tweet that she fantasizes about her being dead. She fantasizes about her being 6 feet in the ground. She called it a dirt nap. This was fine. For years, Courtney Stodden has been speaking out, saying that this woman, while I was young and vulnerable, tried to convince me to kill myself. And it turns out Courtney Stodden wasn't the only one. She also did this to Lindsay Lohan, mocking 2009 Lindsay Lohan had a real suicide attempt. She slit her own wrists. Chrissy Teigen thought that was funny. Okay, wow, it's actually been one of those super crazy weeks. We had so many stories. We wanted to get to all of them. We tried to dwindle it down. We have a great panel. It's a time of the week where we're gonna sit down and try to make sense of the world, and here to help me do it is Turning Point USA contributor and political strategist, Erin Elmore. And everyone knows she is a horrible human being on the internet. She's been vitriolic, particularly to the Trump family, has said tremendously nasty things. And Melania, Ivanka, it's been her sport. She thinks it's like, it's her brand almost. She brags about how much of a bully she is on the internet. We get that. You know, turns out a quiet voice, Courtney Stodden. I say a quiet voice because she's kind of just not been in the press. And for years, she has been giving interviews trying to tell people, make people pay attention to the fact that when she was a vulnerable teenager, Chrissy Teigen was sliding into her DMs telling her to commit suicide. Here are just some of like the tweets that she has said. To Courtney Stodden, my Friday fantasy is you, a dirt nap, baby. A dirt nap refers to a burial.
Mariah Carey, so she's fat shaming Mariah Carey.
Yeah, but fat shaming, I can't really.
Why is anyone surprised Mariah is having twins? I was always pretty positive there were 2 to 15 babies growing inside of her. Okay, fine. Like fair game, Mariah. I say fair game as in this is nasty stuff.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about freedom of speech, does not say that you as an adult person can tell a teenager that they should commit suicide and you should privately DM them and like, you know, and say you should commit suicide. Nobody likes you. Favorite Abraham. Nobody likes you. You should commit suicide. Courtney Stodden's exact quote in an interview that she gave is that she told her to kill herself, right? There's a young woman that's in prison right now.
I was just going to bring up that case.
Yeah.
Legally speaking, forget what we think about cancel culture or social norms or propriety or anything. There was a woman by the name of Michelle Carter, who I believe was a teenager at the time.
That's correct, she was.
She was sentenced to 15 months in jail, and it went on appeal and appeal and appeal, and it was upheld because she told her boyfriend, Conrad Roy III, to kill himself.
That's correct.
So Chrissy Teigen, in a way, if a court would pick it up and prosecute her, she could be liable for a crime and go to jail for manslaughter.
Depending on state. It's state by state. And I want to say that is why I say this is completely different, because this isn't like, I could have done this, you know, years ago. She's been saying horrible things on the internet for a long time. This to me is different. It's not, we're not talking about a mean tweet. We're talking about a pathology to think that as a 26, 27-year-old woman, it's acceptable to slide into the DMs of a teenager who is admittedly suicidal and to tell them that they should do it.
A majority her fault. You know, pushing a young girl into that state. So she's wrong. She's wrong.
It might not have been a murder charge, but manslaughter, involuntary at least. And that's something to be cognizant of when these celebrities that aren't members of Mensa, that haven't gone to law school, that aren't thinking, they think they're drunk with power, drunk and intoxicated with fame, that talk to young children this way. Hopefully this will be a wake-up call, and she should be the example that we are making.
And you are right in saying that it's intoxicating for them, because I mean, I spoke to Courtney Stodden behind the scenes, and she just said she's looking back now, realizing that she was groomed by an adult man.
Excuse me, they.
Correct me, that is correct. I think I can't even, and this is actually, that's a good point. Courtney Stodden and I are on completely different, this isn't even a political issue. We're on completely different sides of the political aisle. She knows my target and asked them to tell them to drop her products. I never told them to go on Chrissy's wall, not once.
This is the problem. When conservatives do things, we have consequences. If a conservative came out and said they were a Trump supporter, Target would be banning them and everything else. So when Chrissy Teigen comes out and she does things that is evil, spiteful, it's not a representation of any of these companies, then we say, hold her accountable like you would do everybody else. We're not, she needs to be held accountable like we are. These companies are supposed to be impartial.
How are you a different person on the internet than you are in person? You literally did 3 videos saying you didn't agree.
No, I agree with what he said. Chrissy Teigen should be held accountable for poor actions.
But canceling her is the accountability.
No, we do not participate
what do you
in cancel
consider
culture.
Cancel culture is? I'm saying to Target and Macy's, drop her products so that she can be held accountable for what she's done.
I don't think
her products got dropped. I didn't ask for her to be erased from the internet.
That's stupid.
Maybe we could all agree on just the idea of cancel culture. We don't like we don't strive as much as a left side to cancel people. Maybe but people can still be held accountable.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We're conflating accountability and canceling someone, and it's accountability is saying you should not be the face of a bunch of brands that are in stores. But not only have you told someone to commit suicide, but not only the way that she gaslit Courtney Sodden. Courtney Sodden for years has been asking for an apology.
Now make it really simple. You're a mother, I'm a mother, you're a parent.
Yes.
What would you tell your child? Like, actions have consequences. If you behave badly, bad things will then in return happen to you.
Oh yeah.
I
just think the market would decide that. I think
the market has decided this. The market has very clearly made this
so we don't have to waste our time going after all these people with vitriol.
We are going.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of how you hold people accountable. Officer Corbin Seward, which was a DC Metro police officer, his chief decided to pull him off the streets. They were going to fire him because he made a comment about a young lady, Ma'Khia Bryant.
Yeah.
There was a protester that was saying, "You're going to kill us like Ma'Khia Bryant?" And he said, "Are you going to stab somebody like Ma'Khia Bryant?" They tried to fire him. I made
thoughts about cancel culture. Brandon, if you could move down.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey guys, that was a spicy panel, but Matt Gaetz probe. From the beginning, by the way, I never really bought the sex trafficking minors over the border. Like, I just, it's not something that sound right. Now they're saying, well, they've got evidence that he's doing cocaine in a hotel room and has someone on staff that he's also sleeping with.
It should be an example for Republicans, for Democrats, and everyone out there, because you know what? They're going to start with Matt Gaetz because they don't like what he's saying. And then it'll change as the political tides change. Because right now, they started with sexual allegations. How many accusers do we have out by name?
Right.
I'll give you a spoiler alert. None. No one has come out to stand by these allegations. Not one woman. And it's been going on for a couple of months. So we have that. Okay, no one's going to come out. They harassed his fiance and her family. She's still with him. They can't get that one out of the way. So now they're moving on to Joel Greenberg, who was his one-time associate, who, by the way, has a litany of crimes that he has been charged with.
Right, 33, and they reduced it to 6 if he would give them anything on Matt Gaetz. And apparently they've got it down to cocaine in a hotel room somewhere. I mean, what's your take?
And a lot of stuff on, like, you know, suspicious lobbying, which is just stupid because that's but now it's in because of the whole marijuana stuff, right? I don't know what he was doing back there but so it's weird for viewers on both sides because there's a lot of just people that want weed legal. So they're like, okay.
Cuomo stays. Hunter Biden has so much laptop. They should be mining that. They've been investigating it allegedly. Nothing has come of these investigations, and there are some really sick stuff in those text messages that should be probed. And yet they're picking on Matt Gaetz. And again, I'm not defensive of his character. If it is true that he has been doing drugs, you know, yes, send it down to the states. Let Florida prosecute that. Let the police officers in Florida deal with that.
Where's the line when drugs are okay and they're not? Because when Democrats seem to be engaging in that, they get a big hoorah for legalizing marijuana. And I believe some states out west have completely legalized all drugs. Right? So, but when Matt Gaetz does it, allegedly, of course, it's terrible. But when Democrats decriminalize it, I mean, you can, in California, I believe, you can purchase and buy and sell and use drugs openly and freely without consequence. So where's the outrage? Oh, it's manufactured and fake for when it's Republican. Got it.
Right. And let me ask you something. It's funny because we hear so many calls, Brandon, to defund the police. Should we defund the DOJ?
Right, I think so. I mean, they're incredibly corrupt. I mean,
on the same day, Apple, Facebook, Twitter, and Google all banned him should let you know that they are literally controlling a monopoly right now in this country.
And they're trying to control our voices. You know, there's no reason that you ban Alex Jones and all of them and ban Parler, but you don't ban these other people who are lunatics.
Applause to that. And what I will say is that, you know, the reason that we were given that Parler had to be taken away was because it was inciting violence for January 6th, you know, which will forever be to me the grandma selfie party that took place in Congress. You know, for January 6th, you were told also Alex Jones had to go because he was inciting violence. You were told that Donald Trump had to be wiped from the internet because he was inciting violence, even though factually speaking, they cannot produce a tweet in which Donald Trump incited violence. And yet Chrissy Teigen gets a platform and accolades, and she has literally on their platforms been sliding into the DMs publicly and privately saying commit suicide. What's a more clear example of inciting violence and inciting self-harm?
What about BLM?
Right.
How does Black Lives Matter have a actual Instagram They probably have accounts everywhere, and they have killed people.
Hate group that's a Delaware corporation, by the way. And by the way, the leading case on incitement, everyone queued on the internet is like, inciting an insurrection, inciting an insurrection. I actually read the case of Brandenburg versus Ohio where those words are used, and it explains what inciting an insurrection is, and it is nothing that we have seen. The defendant in that case was a neo-Nazi KKK member who's a horrible, unspeakable, crappy human being. And the Supreme Court said he advocated essentially for like horrible things for Jews. And I'm a Jew. I converted. I worked really hard to be a Jew. And I read this case.
I worked really hard.
I did. It's hard. They don't just let you in. I worked really hard. But I read that case with an open mind, knowing that, you know, these people would hate me and want to kill me and my family. And that wasn't even inciting an insurrection.
Yeah.
Saying to basically kill Jews.
Yeah.
So the people that say incite an insurrection because it's a buzzword and a buzz phrase need to go back and read cases like that and understand what it means. It's not anything that we have seen in the last year.
Right.
Weakest insurrection on planet Earth.
Yeah.
They walk. I saw grandmas in there taking selfies.
Yes.
Oh, podiums, and they didn't come with it. And then the same day that they supposedly had the worst insurrection in American history,
9/11. It's like 9/11.
They still finished the vote.
Right.
They didn't do nothing. They finished the vote and they went on about their business.
I like what they tried to do with the word fight, as if like we wouldn't notice that everyone says fight all the time in politics. Because, you know, Trump said fight and they're like, he wanted people to go down and kill everybody.
The man that just wants his privacy, Prince Harry.
Oh, God.
How many interviews, public interviews, is it going to take for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to finally receive the privacy that they so desperately crave?
Likeable with their complaints, but I also hate anything royal family is just BS to me, and I get it. I wouldn't want to be in it either.
Be careful. She's like basically married to a royal.
Well, I just can't. It's like
There may not be a lord.
they just took they picked a bloodline as their mascot.
Was Meghan, she didn't actually love, you know, the United Kingdom or love where he came from. She just kind of went in and said, a lot of this needs to be cleaned up and let me show you how it's done. Let's go to the best place ever, Los Angeles.
Yeah. She goes, I thought I'd have a little more freedom. It's like, what evidence?
She lives in a $14 million house in Montecito. Her neighbors are like Rob Lowe and Oprah.
Yeah.
Like when?
Like during the courtship, you'd think he'd be like, hey, remember like my mom? That was paparazzi's weird.
Meghan Markle said
mostly
she didn't know who Princess Diana was.
That's so disgusting.
I don't buy anything she ever says. And all of it, then she said she didn't know who Princess Diana was, and they found
so soft. My family.
A weenie.
I'm so scared. And like, we
Wasn't he in the military? Like,
Yeah,
I'm scared.
I don't know what it was for sure. He wasn't. I don't know if he went through any kind of boot camp or nothing in the military for him. He may have. I don't know. But he is coming across extremely soft.
Weenified,
Wimpish.
as you would say.
Weenie.
Weenified,
He's
yeah.
weenie.
There was an
Any
interesting
award.
article where actually a doctor had written that he's showing the signs of someone who's done too much therapy.